I called in 3 golems, 2 undead armies and a demon, and watched them beat the final boss of one of the most revered RPGs ever made. I was a passenger in a game that I wanted to drive. I'm a total stranger to the Gothic universe. Never played the original. I finished the remake in about 40 hours, but I love the genre that game helped to shape. And the game did well, over 500,000 copies in 1 week, and it sits at 84% positive on Steam. Most people love this. I don't, quite. Let me explain why, properly. It essentially boils down to one question. Was the grass actually greener back in the day? Gothic is one of the most important games that ever came out. The answer is yes, but also no. And this video is about why both can be true at once. Somewhere in those 40 hours, I also figured out what Elden Ring understands about difficulty that this game doesn't. We'll get there. The game has so many firsts that define not only the genre, but gaming as a whole. We're so used to fully voiced dialogue for every NPC in every game, but before Gothic, it was only some of them, and maybe only some of the lines. The world is seamless, no loading screens. 25 years ago. Hi Starfield! It had a day and night cycle, hunting and cooking, jobs, routines, and they run away into shelter when it rains, a mechanic that is credited to Oblivion, which came full 5 years after Gothic. Let that sink in for a second. All of that is normal now. We're used to it, but in 2001, holy moly, I can get why people are so obsessed with this game. And 2 games I love have Gothic in their bloodline. Warhorse have said outright that Kingdom Come drew on it. CD Projekt, before it was Red, were the people who published and dubbed Gothic in Poland. Even if not said out loud, I can see the heritage in The Witcher. The feeling, the NPCs, some of the mechanics were taken and then expanded by those studios and made great. That's a serious line of descendants. The quests were good, better than I expected them to be 25 years ago. They don't give that impression of low-effort RPGs with collect and bring me, because it feels like they are there for a reason and not only to waste my time. The game is carried by its story. You can feel that absolutely everyone in the colony really wishes to get out of there. That collective feeling of trying to survive, but also being pulled together to find a way to escape their open-air prison is what holds me there. I did like the progression, not as simple as in many RPGs where you decide to become mage. Here it feels like something earned through the game. Becoming great mage is not only about allocating stats, but also about coming closer to the mages themselves, which makes it more rewarding. Like magic should be, special and powerful. Not everyone should be able to possess it. I like that twist on the class system. The system of earning gear as you go further up the social ladder felt fine too. A shirt here is a promotion, not vendor trash. And I like the idea of camps. The choice is permanent. You only get the armor of the camp you joined. Joining one fails the admission quest for other 2. They aren't the same. Each has its own way of seeing the world. And they're still united but desperately wanting to escape. That feeling of unity really does come through. At first, I wanted to say that I didn't like the music and thought it was dated. It isn't. Kai Rosenkrantz scored the original and came back for the remake, and it's good. The problem is there isn't enough of it, 1 or 2 tracks per location. And in the early hours, that means the same piece for 10 hours straight. At that point, even a great soundtrack starts to get old. Transitions don't help either. They cut rather than blend, which is something you notice in 2026. Good to great, not the best ever, but it does its job. Some of the bad parts were there not due to laziness, but rather limitations of technology, team size, resource availability. Only thing is for sure though, it was a labor of love. It's not all great though, there are some things I need to highlight. It was a chore to play at first, it's still a bit like that further into the story. But the story starts to click, and that makes it interesting. It sucked me in, not on the Witcher 3 level, but I was genuinely curious about what actually happens. I think it was by the middle of chapter 2, when you start to understand what's actually happening in the world, who wants what, and how they are planning to achieve it. The world slowly starts to make sense. You want to play until the end, not because of the mechanics, combat especially, but in spite of them. Geography can work, and it's used widely even today, but it works when the map is big enough for you to understand that you are going somewhere you're not supposed to yet. Not how it's made here. One gate of the old camp gets you to a safe place, while another is a short walk from really high level ones. It felt more like trying to avoid hot coals on the floor while wearing a blindfold. And the map hurts you twice. They've used elevations and mountains to separate locations, which makes the world feel bigger than it actually is. That part works, but the maze-like structure means that you're running from location to location constantly, over the same ground. You get a mount eventually. It helps a little. Teleport runes make it bearable. But the fact that they built those remedies at all tells you that developers knew the problem was there, and the camps themselves are big and maze-like. For the same reason, the illusion of scale. And is it really difficulty if all it takes is to reload the game? It feels like a remember to save simulator. KCD 2 did a better job. You have to leave the game to save or use savior snaps, which are not infinite. Honestly, it's just the numbers and the fact that the hero started swinging faster. That felt forced. And it isn't tied to strength or dexterity either. It's tied to weapon mastery, which you buy with points when you level up. So, the hero doesn't swing faster because he got better, he swings faster because he spent points. It's getting clearer, isn't it? In many modern RPGs, what you're underleveled for can still be beaten by skill. Here it might work, but it will require cheesing heavily. Then later, fighting the Great Lizards, the Swamp Shark Mother, and the Shadow Beast was too easy, easier than fighting a scavenger early on. And the reason is not that I got better at the mechanic of fighting, but that I found a better spell that I just spammed. It didn't feel like a great win. In the later parts, the real difficulty depends on whether you have the needed summon scrolls and whether you use them in the right place at the right time. All the chapters later are more about getting bigger damage numbers and taking less damage with more health. Overall, the enemy variety, while it's there, isn't all that diverse. The bestiary is only about 6 families: beasts, orcs, undead, demons, golems, and hostile humans. And inside the family, what mostly separates one from another is the young, standard, and adult version of the same thing, dealing more damage and carrying more health. It could be skilled through, it just doesn't earn it. The game lets you get away with the easier way of fighting, so why bother? Early on, the numbers stop you. Later, the numbers carry you. And somewhere in the middle, where the skill was supposed to live, there is nothing. No enjoyment to get from it. I finished Elden Ring. I put 150 hours into Kingdom Come 2. And the difference is this. You can actually beat them even early on. You have the controls that make it possible. You can use skill, which won't be as good as it will be at the end, but you can still try and beat them if you wish to spend the time. Those games aren't pure arithmetic. In parts, sure, but not most of them. The most underwhelming thing for me was the final boss fight, which was just bad. I died not because I play badly, it's just not easy to see what is happening or whether I am taking damage. I'm talking about those hands coming up from the floor. With the golems and whatnot, I It didn't feel like a hard fight, but rather a fight where I have to keep checking if there's anything under my feet that I can't see. The thing is, Souls-likes give you difficulty you need to get better at to win. Here, it's about legibility. You can't learn to be better at something you don't see. Here's the thing I felt in the first 2 hours and couldn't shake. You're looking at the genuinely beautiful 2026 graphics, and underneath them you can feel the old bones. That gap is the whole story of this game, because most of what I've said so far belongs to the original. What comes next belongs to the remake, mostly. Alchemia built a new combat system, a full overhaul for the remake. And the thing I didn't like the most is the direct product of that. They rejected the modern standard and went for the stiff wooden version. I truly don't know why. I read that they didn't want to follow the path of Souls-like games and make it their own, but I believe that is the point of failure, not pride. As well as a pretty buggy release. People spawn and despawn in front of my eyes, blink and they're gone. Not something I'm used to as a modern gamer. I mostly brush things like that off. Games are complicated, full of ifs, things break, that is fine. But other titles with far bigger worlds and far more ifs don't have this. Even accounting for bigger budgets, the math doesn't change that much. I'm going to leave out the smaller ones I ran into, but there was one that essentially soft-locked me. In the Xardas questline, I couldn't talk to the NPC I needed to open the doors. I had to go and find a solution, flying in as a bloodfly, spend the evening working out how to make it right, and essentially drop the game until the patch came through. That's not a good look. And for those who don't know, the questline is not a side quest, it's the main one, which honestly isn't that big once you cut out the long battles and the traveling. And I dropped the game for a couple of days, waiting for it. And I know this isn't a AAA studio. It's a small game and a small team by today's standards. But a bit more polish would have saved people the evening I lost. And while that's survivable, there is one thing that really grinds my gears. The ending. Remember what I said was holding me in this game? That everyone in the colony wants out. That collective push to escape. And then the game ends, and you never see what happened to them. A visual of the dome going away would have been nice. Some story about what happened to everyone there. The thing the entire game is about. And it happens off screen. Beyond that, the payoff wasn't really great. Too quick of a conclusion, no time to breathe. The main hero's fate is extremely cheesy. Even the last set of armor you get right before the ending, a bit more time with it would have been nice. And frankly, I expected to learn more about the protagonist. He got everything a bit too quickly and became almost the most powerful guy there, but has no backstory at all, which is strange to say at least. It works in, say, Skyrim, because the hero doesn't really speak and is a chosen one, but here he has a character and you expect to know more about him, which you don't, at all. This is more about depth than anything else. To be fair, that rushed ending isn't the remake's invention. Piranha Bytes couldn't know Gothic would take off. That fade to black was written as a full stop, not a cliffhanger. But Alchemia expanded the world and filled in the content the original never built. They left this alone. Just a minute more of decent cinematics would have brought the whole experience up a notch. In any case, to my final thoughts. Maybe I can't see what made it legendary, because what was groundbreaking then just isn't groundbreaking now. From the lens of a player, this is merely seen as something routine. So, to my question, was the grass greener? Not really. It's just the same now. Gothic planted most of it. Revolutionary became universal. And playing it today, it feels like what it should have been all along. So the game is a living legend and a thing of a past, and both are true. I'm really conflicted on this game. It's good and nice and sometimes great, when you take the world into account, but sometimes it's boring, repetitive, and even difficult with no real reason for it. I wouldn't honestly recommend it to anyone who doesn't like RPGs. It's great from the historical point of view, but everything else, I don't think it is. It's most likely amazing for people who played the original all those years ago, as a nostalgia thing. If you played the original, yes. If you want to see what gaming was like 25 years ago and notice what modern RPGs took from it, yes. Otherwise, not really. If a remake of Part 2 comes, which might make up for the slow burn, then maybe it becomes something. But as it stands right now, not really worth it. Historical relevance only. Good experience, but far from a necessary one. Frankly, I'm glad it's over. I wouldn't say I loved the game, didn't hate it either, but by 2026 standards, a 6. THQ Nordic have said that they would want to make a Gothic 2 remake. It depends on how this one is received and on the sales numbers, which for a remake aren't bad at all, and Gothic 2 is widely considered the better game. So if the remake comes, maybe this time the middle shows up.